When the president's mandate from Washington came down, vaccinate or vacate, faced a decision that split life in two. To some, it was about health. To her, it was about conviction. She didn't protest, didn't shout. She simply stood her ground and paid the price.
The memo hit every employee's desktop like a thunderclap. By November 1st, all employees must show proof of COVID-19 vaccination. Attached was a form for medical or religious exemption, due immediately. That was the day the atmosphere in our department shifted. The aroma of fear replaced the scent of stale office coffee. We weren't just co-workers anymore. We were survivors, split into categories no one asked for. Some rushed to get the vaccine, terrified of dying. Others debated for days, wondering how this choice would affect their bodies, their beliefs, their future. Some cried in despair after getting the vaccine, stating they had let themselves down for not standing against it. Some felt they were forced. Some were pushed by spouses, afraid to lose the only income keeping food on the table. Others formed quiet groups, whispering resistance. Many quietly resigned. And then there was me, standing on the unshaken foundation of my belief in God. To understand my story, you must go back to when COVID became COVID. I still remember the day my cousin ran to me, panic in her voice, fear in her eyes, saying, "There's something out there. It's killing people." Days later, a coworker left abruptly. Schools were shutting down. Weeks later, the whole world followed. At that moment, I would have done exactly what my country asked of me, without hesitation, because as a proud citizen, I believed in the strength and preparedness of our nation. I trusted that, no matter the threat, my country stood ready to defend us. That belief was rooted in years of loyalty and patriotism. But after witnessing so many senseless deaths and experiencing this unexpected, calculated attack on innocent citizens, something shifted. What caused me to gasp, what shook me to my core, was the realization that while we proudly prepare for wars abroad and invest in the promise of the future, we were completely unprepared to face the danger that crept into our own backyard. The threat wasn't just foreign, it was hidden, insidious, and close. And the scariest part was this: in a moment when we needed protection the most, my country wasn't ready. Then winds whispered, "Be not anxious for anything, meaning anything." The department split. Some were assigned to work remotely. Others, like me, were declared essential. While many sat safely at home, I drove on silent freeways, past empty streets. I was nervous like everyone else, but I had family counting on me. I stood alone in the office every day, surrounded by darkness, lit only by the faint glow of a ceiling light above my desk. I signed into Zoom in the morning. I signed out from our Zoom call to end my shift for the day. Each break, I stared at the lobby monitor, desperate for updates, anything from the president, the scientist, the interest of few billionaires. I wasn't looking for conspiracy theories. I was looking for truth. But what I found instead was confusion, conflicting reports, back and forth messaging, no clarity. I realized something. God is not the author of confusion, but the devil is. And that's when I made my decision. I chose to trust God, not the divided voices of man. Each morning I prayed before work. I changed my diet. I strengthened my immune system. I followed the company's safety rules, regular testing, temperature checks, protective measures. For 18 months, I walked faithfully into that building while others stayed home. Not once did I test positive. Then came the mandate. I submitted a religious exemption, believing it would be honored. But faith, I learned, would be tested far beyond paper and policy. When I was called to the associate director's office, I brought my report in hand, smiling, proud to meet the deadline. But the moment I walked in and saw my manager sitting beside her, I knew something wasn't right.
We have reviewed your exemption request and accommodation option for your position. Given that we are a healthcare agency who treats a very vulnerable population, we cannot allow our employees to pose a direct threat to the health or safety of our clients or coworkers. Effectively providing services or regularity, interacting directly with clients or coworkers, serving our clients are examples of activities that could cause a risk if conducted by unvaccinated staff, as well as all employees working in high-risk settings. Due to these in-person interaction required for your role, we are unable to accommodate a remote option, and we do not have remote jobs currently available. We therefore are unable to provide reasonable accommodation currently. Until such time you can become vaccinated, herd immunity is achieved as determined by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, such that vaccines for COVID-19 are no longer required or the organization determines we cannot continue to accommodate the leave of absence. You will be placed on this leave of absence effective 11/01/21. Your last day of work will be no later than October 31st, 21. Any company-provided benefits will end at midnight of 10/31/2021. You have until October 29th to show proof of vaccination.
I stood there, stunned. I wasn't given time. I wasn't offered options. I asked, "Can I work remote and continue testing?" She didn't blink.
No, get vaccinated or go on unpaid leave.
I whispered under my breath, "What the hell?" Not out of rebellion, but heartbreak. For 18 months, I came here alone. I showed up when the world shut down. No cure to run to, face unvaccinated citizens who sat across my desk requesting the services the company provided, and the isolation of being in a department alone while others were home without risk. A silent anger wanted to scream from within me. I thought about the secrets of employees of how they deceived the company after the Zoom calls, and now at this moment you can't accommodate me, while still the whole department is home working, quote, remotely. I whispered to God, "What happened?" I glanced at my manager. Her expression was in agreement with me, but she must stand with her associate director and the company policy. I thought, where was the policy that wasn't there for me the last 18 months? They both stared at me, unable to answer. My manager expression pleaded for me not to sign the document to be placed on leave of absence, while the associate director pointing the pen as a dagger for me to sign the. I thought well throughout my life and all my tribulations, hardships God provided. But this one was different. It came to me that now I must stand for what I believe, and now, with no compassion, I was being told to surrender my faith or my livelihood. I mentioned to them I wasn't anti-vaccine. I was anti-confusion, anti-being forced to rely on the minds of man over the Spirit of God. God kept me through the plague. Now I was expected to betray Him for a paycheck or out of fear. No, so I stood, and I signed the document placing me on an unpaid leave of absence. They read off the list of things I'd lose, my salary, my benefits, my place, but they couldn't take my conviction. Yes, I suffered. I lost financially, but God provided. The friends I thought were friends call me a fool. They mentioned they will not be around me in fear I will cause them to be sick. Miraculously, quietly, faithfully. I remembered something my mother used to say every summer before school. "I'm sorry, baby. I know you don't want this shot, but I must work, and you must go to school." As a child, I didn't understand why she would say she was sorry, and now I do. She wasn't against vaccines. She was torn between survival and sacrifice, and now I made my choice, not against the world, but for me, for my soul, for the still, small voice that never changed, even when everything else did. I chose to trust God.
She was warned from her faith by God, the danger of being misled by philosophies and empty deceit that can masquerade as wisdom. Colossians 2:8 warns believers to be wary of deceptive philosophies and empty deceit that contradict the teachings of Christ. John 16:33. These things I have spoken unto you, that in me ye might have peace. In the world ye shall have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world.
Mixed Emotion is a collaboration of short stories solely created from imagination for entertainment purpose only. In the event these stories may reflect some incidents of reality of any person's life or situations of any institutions is not intended but coincidental. Enjoy Mixed Emotions short stories by VG.